All right, welcome on in to another action-packed, spectacular edition of the Between the Hash Marks podcast, a regular season kickoff edition of the pod. As always, I'm Matt Lombardo, joined by my friend, colleague, mentor, the purveyor of the Two Deep Zone on this momentous occasion, not the 10th, not the 15th, but the 20th edition, the 20th anniversary of the original incarnation of the Two Deep Zone. Michael, happy anniversary and welcome into another NFL season.
Thank you. I am old. I am so very, very old. I am like a vampire out here. But it's exciting to have done 20 years of the Two Deep Zone, going back to Football Outsiders when it was like my first column there back in 2005. Do you even remember the 2005 internet?
All I remember about 2005 is it's the year that I graduated high school, so my memories are intertangled with those sorts of things, and
Oh,
the
God.
internet was just the beginning of to be somewhere that you went to read about sports and watch sports. Remember my old AOL screen names and those sort of things, but
All
not
right.
much about the wild west of the sports internet way back then.
That's it. AOL screen names and having to dial up. I don't know if you were dialing up to
Yes.
get in and all of that other stuff. And that's where it all began. And now we're here, but we're not here to reminisce. We're here to talk about something very important. I refer, of course, to sandwiches. Um, I don't know if you're, this is going to shock you, but I was at Wawa the other day.
Shocking, stunning.
Shocking, to grab, a hoagie. Um, and I discovered, I must have spaced on this, that there is a Saquon sandwich. Are you aware of this?
I saw a commercial come across my social media feed. Speaking of internet, circa 2025, I saw some sort of commercial of Saquon delivering sandwiches. But is that because Wawa has crafted a Saquon hoagie, a Saquon sandwich, if you will?
That's it. They have crafted. And Wawa, for those of you who don't aren't in the Philadelphia area, that is our Sheets. That is our Royal Farms.
Royal Farms, yes.
Royal Farms, yes. It's where we go to basically live our entire lives because it's our combination bank, gas station, restaurant, and a supermarket. And they have a Saquon sandwich, and it should. I'm assuming it's crafted to his tastes. That they asked him what should be on a. At least I hope they asked him. Because no one should be saddled with this sandwich. So here is the Saquon sandwich, okay? It is, of course, I lost it just as I pulled up here. Oven roasted turkey, American cheese, lettuce, onions, and spicy mustard. That's that's like a Rico Dowdle. That's like a
But Jaden Blue.
it's like a Jaden Blue sandwich. That would have blue cheese on it, maybe, or something like that. Again, so you have turkey and American with lettuce, onion, and mustard. You eating that?
I'm not a big mustard guy, so I'm going to pass on the Saquon sandwich. But he had me at turkey and American. He had me at oven roasted turkey and American cheese. I might, after the podcast, go make one of those for lunch. Swing by the deli and grab one.
That's the thing. I was going to go purchase a steak one and bring it back. But like, why purchase a turkey and cheese sandwich? Just get turkey and cheese and like slam it between two slices of bread, especially because Wawa bread, calling it not the best rolls at Wawa. Up your game, guys. But like, it's an unimpressive. Can we agree that's an unimpressive sandwich?
Not as unimpressive as what my sandwich would be.
Okay, well, I gotta get to yours, and we'll get to your whole food thing in a second. But if I had a sandwich,
Yes.
I believe I should have a sandwich because, like, I feel like I've reached the level in my life that I should have a sandwich.
Dude, you wrote the book on the muffaletta. You
I,
literally wrote the book on the muffaletta during Super Bowl week. This is the
yeah,
20th anniversary of the Two Deep Zone, veteran NFL reporter. Of course, we should be reaching out to Wawa or the local deli across the border in New Jersey to get the sandwich, the Tanya sandwich on the board.
Amato Brothers, get with the program. I'm there like once a week. Create the Tanner sandwich, please. Anyway, it's like a muffaletta, but my sandwich, okay. So you're gonna start with an Italian hoagie, all right? Little gabagool,
Yeah.
prosciutto, sharp provolone, Genoa salami, lettuce and tomato, onion optional. Onion optional. I'm not a super onion guy. I'm not going to take it off. Maybe saute them.
Okay.
Now we're going to diverge from this a little bit, head more towards Muffaletta Town. We're going to put a little, uh, excuse me, my Spotify just loaded there. We're going to put a little olive tapenade on there. So like some diced up olives and like an olive oil, maybe a tiny bit of vinegar in there, maybe some mushrooms, maybe some chopped artichokes. And then we're going to slather it with some pesto Genovese, some nice, pesto with the basil and the pine nuts and the Parmesan cheese. And we're going to slather on that good Del Bono's roll, so we have a good South Jersey feel here, or any Philly Italian roll, not Wawa, like real Italian roll. I'm going with Del Bono's. And that is sort of my fake Philly muffaletta, my personal sandwich.
It's customized enough to get on the board. It's customized enough that when you walk in the deli and you ask for the tenure, they're going to know what you're talking about.
It's not turkey and cheese.
Right, right.
No, that's a turkey and cheese. Now, I'm guessing that sandwich ain't to your taste, though.
Oh, no, not yours. But I do feel a little bit less bad because I had no idea what was on the Saquon sandwich. I didn't bother to look it up ahead of time, and I had all these thoughts in my head about how, like, unimpressive my sandwich is by comparison, and how much I was going to be ripped for this. But it sounds like Saquon is only a little bit more adventurous in his taste in sandwiches than I am. We'll just put it at that.
Which is terrifying. Just to let everybody know, I've eaten a lot of meals with Matt, and you now have a second grader. She probably is a more adventurous eater than you. Am I correct?
Yes, and my 3-year-old probably even more adventurous than her. He eats everything under the sun, usually all in one sitting. We'll have the dinner, and then we'll need the second dinner for Luca. He's the kind of kid that when he goes to bed at night, the last words out of his mouth are, "Hey, mommy, hey, daddy, what's for breakfast in the morning?" So this
Beautiful.
is a kid that lives to eat.
Yes.
Uh, his father, by the way, also lives to eat, but a very select palate, very limited menu, as you know from experience during Super Bowl week in Atlanta.
Yeah, yeah, Atlanta and elsewhere, and you, and I'm not going to call other people out who also are named Matt, but the two of you can drive the rest of us a little crazy because it's like you order from the chicken finger menu, and we have to sort of make sure we go someplace with chicken finger menu. I'm just saying.
So
I'm
you'd
just
be shocked that this sandwich is built around chicken cutlets. Then you'd be shocked by that. You'd be floored by this.
not shocked at all, but thank heavens it's not just like bologna or peanut butter or something like that. So hit me with the chicken cutlet, the Lombardo.
Yeah, the Lombardo, it's a combination of some of my favorite things and an homage to the owners of the Collegeville Bakery, good friends of mine. I would roll with the chicken cutlet. I'd
Mhm.
throw extra heaping helping of fresh mozzarella cheese on there, and just a little bit of sprinkle of three different sauces. I would go with the marinara, the vodka, and the pesto, all on this sandwich built around the cutlets and the fresh mozzarella. That's where I'm rolling with this. It's not all that adventurous, but it's what I'm ordering. It's what's going to go up on the board.
I think they call that a chicken parm.
With the pesto?
The
The
chicken parm.
pesto.
Okay, all right, that's fair. That's fair. It's like saying mine's an Italian hoagie. You put the other things in there and the vodka sauce. That's not standard.
And it would
Okay,
have to be on a Sarcone seeded roll. The
and a
seeded roll is important.
Sarcone seeded roll and the Lombardo. So that's perfectly reasonable. That is a chicken mozzarella with vodka and pesto sauce.
Yes, and marinara, all three.
That's worthy. That outshines the Saquon by a considerable, but leaps and bounds. I think.
Yeah, maybe a backwards leap. So
Yes, yes.
not that I could pull that off. But our taste in sandwiches notwithstanding, this is going to be a really fun show. We have Chris Sanders, former Tennessee Titans wide receiver, dropping by to give his thoughts not on sandwiches, not on lunch meats. Although we could ask Chris his sandwich as well.
Yeah.
But on Cam Ward as the number one overall pick in Tennessee, his thoughts on his ceiling, his thoughts on him and the Titans this season. We're going to go through, make our Super Bowl predictions and some big picks for all the award categories as well. And if you enjoy the podcast, please go ahead and subscribe in the Apple Podcast Store, Spotify. Leave us those 5-star reviews on the Apple Podcast Store because they do help grow the show. You can follow me on YouTube at Matt Lombardo 975. Make sure you subscribe to Mike Tanier's Two Deep Zone on Substack, as well as Between the Hash Marks on Substack as well. Mike, would you order the Lombardo? Would you order the
Yes.
sandwich off the board?
Yes, that's straightforward. And by the way, the whole Philly thing is that we both had to specify the type of roll. I think that's where it
Yes.
lands. We're like the Philadelphia Italian jerkwad who's like absolutely fussy about the exact place the roll came from, the sourcing that indicates it. But I would order the Lombardo, absolutely.
Love
I
it.
was worried that it was going to be a chicken fingers and mutton. I've seen you pick the tomatoes off of sandwiches. I've seen things that I can't unsee.
You've seen me order mac and cheese for dessert and, kind of convince you to do the same.
We did that. That's fair.
Yes, we did.
I'm owning that 100%. I'm owning that 100%. It was amazing mac and cheese. Hey, maybe we ask Chris Sanders. He's from the land of the Nashville hot chicken.
Yeah, maybe he can throw the hot chicken fingers on a sandwich.
Oh my
And what
God.
does he put with it?
What do you put with it? You gotta get a little something like light and creamy on there, maybe a little tzatziki sauce. Not very Nashville, but hey, that'd be cool on there.
Absolutely. And as we kick off the 106th season of the NFL, Mike, I wrote my column on Monday with my predictions, comprehensive, full brackets, AFC and NFC, some surprises in there, Super Bowl pick, the award categories, each and every one. And I thought it'd be kind of fun on this final podcast before week one of the regular season to not only go over my picks, but also get your picks for each respective award. And you can rip into me for some of my selections that you disagree with along the way. I figured it'd be a great fun for everybody.
I got my awards all ready to go. I got my Super Bowl pick. I don't have much else besides that, but I can wing it.
I like it. So why don't we start with the comeback player?
Oh
You and
yeah.
I have touched on this on a previous pod, thanks to a mailbag question that came in. I'm rolling with Christian McCaffrey, and we talked about this last week, basically by necessity, because Debo Samuel was a Washington Commander. Brandon Ayuk is banged up. Jordan Mason, the former handcuff of Christian McCaffrey in San Francisco, is now the handcuff of Aaron Jones in Minnesota, which means you're probably going to see Christian McCaffrey touch the ball 600 times. And if he can hold up, he's probably going to surpass 1,500 all purpose yards, probably going to touch double digit touchdowns or come close. He's going to be the focal point of the 49ers offense. And if San Francisco's in the mix and McCaffrey's a driving force, why? Pretty good chance he's going to get some serious consideration for comeback player of the year.
Agreed. Perfectly normal pick there, perfectly reasonable. And it's a vibes driven award. And Christian McCaffrey getting out there and having 1,800 total scrimmage yards and his fame and his notoriety, that's going to get him the award. Wanted to do something different. I originally had Trevor Lawrence here. I'm kind of backing off that a little bit, but one of the other favorites for the award, Aiden Hutchinson. And I'll go,
Love that pick.
yeah, yeah. And again, he's another guy who's like, oh, this team goes out there and does this well. And he has 15 sacks or whatever. And he's in the mix with Micah Parsons. Obviously, we're going to talk Micah as the next half hour rolls on here. He's in the mix with Micah and maybe Garrett or somebody like that. And guess what happens if he and Micah Parsons have almost identical seasons? Micah?
One wins defensive player of the year, one wins comeback player of the year, right?
Right. Right, exactly. And the one who, well, both are eligible actually for comeback. The one who's thought of as having a comeback, which is Hutchinson gets comeback. So I'm going with that. I'll just throw a couple other numbers out here. We did this last week. I'll pick a couple
I
numbers.
really do like the Aiden Hutchinson pick, by the way, because not only is it him coming back from a serious injury, and if he returns to form, it's going to get a lot of respect from the voters. I'm bearish overall on the Lions because of all the preseason injuries,
Right.
because of losing both coordinators. If Hutchinson goes out and has the kind of year that he's capable of, and Detroit surpasses my expectations and they win the NFC North again, and he's a reason why, Hutchinson is going to get consideration for comeback player, and rightfully so. So I agree with the pick. I love it there.
Right. And we picked two of the three favorites here. We talked very briefly. We'll talk briefly now. Dak Prescott at plus 275. Hmm.
I think those odds got longer after they traded away Micah Parsons because I think that if you're a quarterback in the mix for comeback player or any of these award categories, if you're a quarterback, your team has to be in the mix. Your team has to be contending. And I think that the Cowboys went overall from a team that could win a wild card spot, maybe win a playoff game, be a team that could wreck somebody's day in the postseason, to being a team that might be 500-ish at this point.
Right. I could have sworn he was plus 250 and now he's plus 275. Trevor Lawrence at plus 500. I don't hate it. I liked it more last week. JJ McCarthy plus 950. Don't play it.
No,
Some people
don't.
will say that, some people will just say he didn't come back. He didn't play. He'll be left off ballots. And there's others in here. We talked about Daniel Jones. That's kind of a joke. Stefan Daddy Diggs. You can get him at plus 3,000. Are you feeling it?
I might throw $5 down just as, because I'm feeling dangerous about it. I mean, if Drake May has the kind of year that some people think Drake May is going to have, and if the Patriots are in the mix for a wild card spot and Stephon Diggs becomes the Stephon Diggs of like 2021 in 2025, then sure, I could see it, but I'm not betting the mortgage payment on it. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, don't bet anything on Stefan Diggs. That's that you can't lose immediately. It'll be at C. Okay, what do we got next?
Next is the first of the biggies. It's defensive player of the year. And I'm going Micah Parsons here. It's not just the 52 and a half career sacks. It's not the 70 pressures from a year ago. It's the 23% pass rush win rate, which was third among edge rushers. I love the fact that they can move him around from off the edge. They can stand him up as an off-ball linebacker if they need to. He's going to help Rashawn Gary. He's not going to draw as many double teams in Green Bay as maybe he did in Dallas because you have Edrin Cooper, who's an ascending talent there. He's a game wrecker. I think he's the missing piece to Green Bay making a run. Give me Micah Parsons. I don't care the odds. He's my defensive player of the year pick. I feel good about it.
Is plus 600. And I went hunting around for some cool other thing to do. I'm just going to chalk it up here. Plus 600. It's hard to just come off the feeling right now that if all things being equal, he has a typical one of his seasons and that elevates the Packers to the next level. They win the division. They do something unexpected. It's going to be his award. And that's perfectly reasonable. I'll throw some other numbers. I'm going to stick with Mike as well. Hutchinson plus 750. I kind of talked a moment ago about why I don't feel that. Garrett plus 850.
Garrett's a great pick. I mean, he's going to be productive. He's going to have double digit sacks. He's going to have 15 to 17 sacks. He's going to be a game wrecker. But the question's going to come down to when you're looking at differentiating your votes, are you voting for Myles Garrett, who has 15 sacks for the Cleveland Browns, who finish 8 and 9? Or are you going to vote for Micah Parsons, who has 14 to 16 sacks, and the Packers are a top 3 seed in the NFC? Are you going to vote for TJ Watt, who might have the Steelers in the mix despite having to carry an offense that's wildly inconsistent? I don't know how Myles Garrett gets votes unless he's having a record-setting season.
Record-setting season because he's going to be behind the fact that his team is terrible. And
Yes.
all these guys come in at 13, 14 sacks, and you're like, well, who's somebody who made the big impact? By the way, Garrett's at plus 850. Again, if you're thinking of Parsons, chalk at plus 600. Like if you feel like that's like the odds-on favorite and you're getting that kind of plus money, you might as well jump on that. Everybody after that is basically the usual suspects of all the edge rushers. And you get like Max Crosby at plus 1,300. Max Crosby has the same season every year, but it's for Vegas. And like it's for Vegas, and like they're not, they are what they are.
If you want to bust out play, and I'm trying not to be a homer here, but if you want to bust out play, Cooper DeJean. I mean, you think about Patrick Surtain winning it last year. In a lot of ways, I think coming out of nowhere, beating the edge rushers for the award. If the Eagles have the kind of year that people think they're going to have, and if the defense is once again top in the league or top 3 in the league, and Cooper DeJean has 5 interceptions, he's going to generate some conversation, I would think.
Yeah, and you get the DeJean at plus 5,000. You can get Quinyon Mitchell plus 5,500. You can get Jalen Carter plus 2,200. You don't get the stats as a defensive tackle. DeJean's the one where he would be in that sort of slot role where you wind up getting a couple pick sixes that kind of light up the scoreboard to a degree that gets the attention of voters. So at plus 5,000 as an Eagles fan, if you're feeling it, go for it. There's a lot of guys at plus 5,000. That's where your Kyle Hamiltons kick in. Nick Bonito, you're a big fan of.
A huge Bonito guy.
Right, and he's a guy who can come in and have like a get double-digit sacks and have this reputation as a run defender, all-purpose guy. So there's values out there, but Micah Parsons at plus 600, that is value. So
right. You're going chalk and you're getting favorable odds. I mean, how can you pass that up, right?
Yep.
We'll move to offensive player of the year. Who do you have in this category?
No idea. I got to look at my notes. Give me 1 second. Okay, to be different and just to be different, I went with Bucky Irving plus 5,000. Now that was my sleeper, super sleepery one before the Tristan Wirfs and Chris Godwin injuries, particularly the Wirfs injury that I could see, derailing that offense for a couple weeks at the beginning of the year, especially against Falcons, Texans, some medium middleweight opponents that could cause all kind of trouble. That said, with Godwin out, with McMillan, I think out as well at wide receiver, they're going to be using Irving more and more in the passing game. I've said in the past, he reminds me of a Brian Westbrook like talent.
Yeah.
And for offense, again, like I think we're going to be talking about Saquon. You talk about the Derrick Henrys. I don't want to vote for an old running back here, and they're all old running backs in my opinion.
Yes.
And I don't want to pick a quarterback because like who's the second best quarterback? That makes my head explode. So here's a guy, a young up and comer at running back who could be in a playoff team that people are going to have their eyes on.
Ascending talent, and he's a big part of what they do down there in Tampa Bay. And you're right, especially early in the season, he's going to play a key role in what they do. And as a rookie, busting out with 1,100 yards and eight
Yeah.
touchdowns. You talk about taking steps in your second season. You talk about taking on an expanded role early in the year where you have McMillan banged up, you have Godwin banged up. He's going to play a vital role. I went chalk once again, and I hate to do it, but you kind of have to. Saquon Barkley, there's a bold caveat here. I think that Barkley winds up breaking Eric Dickerson's single season rushing record
Really?
this season, just based on the fact that I think Saquon is going to have to play 17 games. And I think that it's going to be a carbon copy of the Eagles offense a year ago this season, because why change the formula? I think they'll try to keep him fresh by deploying more play action passes and play action concepts to limit the touches, but I think that will make him more effective in the carries that he does wind up having. But I think there's a very real chance that the Eagles are going to need to play all 17 games, because I think the Commanders are nipping at their heels, and that season finale might be meaningful enough that when you look at Saquon at the end of the year, if the Eagles have the kind of season they did a year ago or better, and if he breaks the record, I don't know how you don't give it to him for a second year in a row.
I mean, I feel like the Penn State fan and the Eagles fan have like sort of crashed in your brain there. I mean, obviously, no offense to Saquon, sandwich choices aside, coming out back-to-back 2,000-yard seasons
Would be wild. Not many
it would be
guys have had
wild.
that kind of offensive line in front of him. Not many
Yeah.
people have that kind of offense that's funneled through them with continuity, with all of the pieces back in place. Are they going to hand the ball to AJ Dillon 12 times a game? I mean, is he going to chew into Saquon's workload that significantly? I don't know.
I don't know. I will tell you this. I mean, obviously, that's a very popular pick. Saquon at plus 750. That is like the favorite to win it for obvious reasons. Jamar Chase plus 850. Also reasonable. I think
Very.
we'll be talking Bengals, I think, at some point soon here. Jamar Gibbs plus 1,000. Derrick Henry plus 1,200. Bijan plus 1,400. I don't like any of those. I would, if I'm not going with Saquon or I'm not doing something off road like I did with Bucky Irving, Justin Jefferson at plus 1,600 might be interesting. Here's a guy who can, second year quarterback who hasn't played at all, and like McCarthy's success gets translated into being, and the Viking success into JJ's success.
Yeah, I can see JJ. I think that if you're going non-Saquon Barkley running back, Jahmyr Gibbs has to be
Yeah.
meriting significant consideration for all the reasons we talked about Aiden Hutchinson. That with so much turnover there, especially losing Ben Johnson, who was such a stalwart play caller for them, if the Lions are the Lions are the Lions that we've seen over the last 3 or 4 years with Dan Campbell, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to play as big a factor in that as Jared Goff, because that's just what they do. And it seems like as the year went along last season, he emerged more and more from David Montgomery's shadow. And if that trend continues, Gibbs is going to be an analytics monster.
Yeah, he became the guy, and Montgomery came like, oh yeah, you're 1B, you're not even 1B, you're 2A or whatever. Similar thing happened with Bucky Irving and Rashad White last year. Another one, if you're talking Lions, Amon-Ra St. Brown is at plus 3,000. A similar thing could happen where they're the same old Lions, and he winds up with like 115 catches. Goff still has over 4,000 yards. No one is ever going to vote for Goff for MVP for whatever reason. That success would be translated over to his receivers. Although the slot guy, I mean, you know, sort of like the perceptions of the voters. We know the voters.
Yeah.
We can talk to them about it. So they, well, he's a slot guy. I was like, okay, well then he's chopped liver. Chopped liver on a sandwich.
Not when he's that big of a focal point of that offense, and not a great sandwich. Not a
Chopped liver
great sandwich.
on rye with onion, spicy brown. It doesn't sound like your cup of tea. Never mind. Moving on.
Offensive rookie of the year. How do you not go with Ashton Genty here? How do you not go with Ashton Genty, who could just be an absolute monster? As I wrote in the column, name me three weapons on that offense not named Brock Bowers. Can you name one? Can you name two?
Genty, yes.
Right.
Jack Betch, Jacoby Myers, who wants out, which is like, why do you want out? It's team seems to be working now. No, they don't. Obviously, they don't. It is Bowers and it is Genty, and that's where the ball's going to go funneling through. And Geno can get the ball to guys. It's not going to whatever they do. They're not just going to stall out, which is what they often did last year offensively. They're going to be somewhat productive. Not surprisingly, you have picked the favorite. Odds on deservedly so, plus 275 in Ashton Genty. So that's who I would pick if I'm putting cash money down. But if I'm here to just create content, and I want to pick something off the wall. RJ Harvey of the Broncos,
Yes.
plus 2,500. Better team. They're high over the moon. This is a team that wants to run the ball and wants to throw a million screen passes. And here's a young man who I know his blocking is very suspect, but here they're going to try to use him in the passing game. They're going to be trying to force a lot of balls to him. Obviously, I know who the better back is of these two guys. But if you're going for big payday, you're going through, I'm just throwing $5 on something, or you're just trying to create some content and like, hey, Broncos fans, I picked one of your guys. Harvey's my fun little choice.
I love the choice. I think that he's Alvin Kamara 2.0 in Sean Payton's system. You talked about his ability to be a game breaker in the passing game. I know that J.K. Dobbins is there to, I guess, absorb some carries early in the year as R.J. Harvey gets up to speed. But the way that they deployed their running backs, the offensive line that they have, I don't see where R.J. Harvey can't push for a Bucky Irving type of rookie season, surpass 1,000 yards, push for 10 touchdowns, and you add in the passing game versatility. I love the pick. I think he's going to be a critical weapon for a team that I believe can make some real noise this year.
I think a lot of people agree. I think they're at least a wild card team. And if you think, well, that plus 2,500 is silly times because, again, JT's out there, look for like, I don't have them in front of me, look for 1,000 yard rushing props and stuff like that. You can find props like that for somebody like Harvey, total yardage props. That's where you can have some fun. You're not getting plus 2,500 on those, but you can make some money. A couple other guys in the list. Cam Ward plus 350. I can see him doing it if they get like a 6-win season, 6 or 7 wins.
Yeah.
Starts the whole year. The numbers look good at the end, and something happens involving the backs where they just come in with, yeah, he ran for 1,100 yards, but look at what this kid did. Maybe he spoils at the end of the year. He spoils the Texans season, or he spoils the Jaguars season. That's reasonable.
No doubt. And he's the quarterback from this quarterback class, right? I mean, Jackson Dart is probably not going to play before week 5. And, maybe he has a second half surge against one of the toughest schedules in the league, and Jackson Dart funnels off some quarterback votes. And like you said, maybe the running backs teams just are mired in mediocrity.
Yeah,
Cam Ward could be an interesting play.
absolutely. By the way, Dart's at plus 2,000. I'm not an Omari and Hampton fan. I actually like the player. That sounds like he's going to be splitting carries with Najee Harris, who's back and apparently can still has depth perception. I don't bet on you. I'm sorry about that. Come on. Anyway,
You saw me try not to laugh. I had to bite my tongue to.
he's fine. He's fine.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Don't bet on the Travis Hunter thing because he'll probably wind up he'll finish in fourth place on both sides and you won't make any money. You can like Travis Hunter, but don't like the play.
And you have Brian Thomas there, right? So I mean, how much of that target share is Travis Hunter going to get on the offensive side of the ball with Brian Thomas's presence and being asked to play cornerback? As it sounds like he's going to have to play both, or wants to play both, or the plan is for Travis Hunter to play both.
Right. And by the way, I just mentioned Dart at plus 2,000. You can obviously see that scenario as well. Even if he doesn't start till week 7, going hot late in the season,
Yes. Him
I
and Malik Neighbors strike up a chemistry, and
Giants go, 5-3 down the stretch, and there's Dart Mania to coin
Dartmania.
Dart Mania.
Brian Dable saves his job off the
Yeah.
hot seat.
Right. And then you plus 2,000, you ride that groundswell, even if it's BS, into some money. What's
I
next?
love it. Defensive rookie of the year. We're going to stick in Denver with the Broncos and Jahdae Barron.
Mhm.
And I like Jahdae Barron as a player. I think he has elite ball skills and tracking ability and coverage. But this is also by property of who else is in that secondary. Because if you have Patrick Surtain on one side of the field, you're not throwing there. Not off of the defensive player of the year season he had a year ago.
Right.
You're throwing at the first round rookie who's
Right.
going to be getting opportunities. And if his ball skills translate to what I think they're capable of translating to, and if that defense remains top 3 in the league or better and becomes the driving force behind a Broncos run, Jahdae Barron's going to have opportunities to become a household name pretty quickly. I'm going Barron. I'm all in on it. This might be the pick that I'm most confident in the entire bunch.
It's sleepery because you're at
Yes.
plus 1,800. But the logic is sound. Like you're going to take that $5, put it down on plus 1,800, all for good reasons. He could have like that Deron Bland season where the pass rush is crushing everybody. They're trying to force feed me the ball. I end up getting 3 pick sixes, And Barron,
Yes.
and he's a great ball player. He could definitely do that. But I also can see the reason why you're talking up Saquon Barkley breaking Eric Dickerson and Babe Ruth's records here is because you have your Penn State guilt. Because this is the one where I went chalk. And as much as I like Barron, it's like Abdul Carter plus 225, just sitting there in New York, going to get 10 sacks, 11 sacks, 12 sacks.
Carl
So,
Banks told me he modernizes the way the Giants can play defense. Just his presence alone, and you put him with Brian Burns, it's a great pick. I mean, they're going to be racing each other to the quarterback all year long, and that's why I think that if we want to talk about Jackson Dart getting hot down the stretch when he comes into play, a lot of that's going to be because he's the slight difference maker and upgrade over Russell Wilson because that defense is keeping them in manageable competitive situations. A lot of reasons why, because of Abdul Carter.
right, right. And this is the one. So I've been trying to avoid chalky picks. This was the chalky pick. I love Barron though. I love the logic behind it. But I did my non-chalky thing on the other side with Harvey. So we each have a Bronco guy in the wind. That's like our
Yes,
fun little like try to look like a genius pick.
no doubt. Let's go to Coach of the Year. I'll give you first dibs here.
Okay, give me 1 second to look at find my notes. Where did I put him? Oh, Liam Cohn. Remember
Bust out. Bust out.
you got yours?
Yeah, I said the bust out move on your part, Liam Cohen.
I mean, I am still high on the Jaguars. I kind of backed off of, picking Trevor Lawrence for comeback, but this is a team that is going to be better, has an incredibly easy schedule, a phenomenally easy schedule. Remember, Coach of the Year is vibe based, and you go 10-7, and Lawrence looks like he's been rejuvenated to some degree. The award goes to Liam Cohn. I think people in the media like him. He's like a nice little guy. I think people respond.
Duval. He's got to make up for that. He's got to make up for the Duval chant. It has to get better by week 18 for him to get a vote for Coach of the Year.
Either that or he just owns it all the way. Like that. That's how he does it. We're just going to we're just going to own it. But that was my pick there. This is always a hard one to pick at the beginning of the year. Who did you go with?
I went with Dan Quinn,
Oh, right.
and I'm higher on the Commanders than a lot of people, and you'll find out just how high in a few minutes here when we talk about a bigger prediction.
Mhm.
But there's just something about that competitive culture that he's built in Washington, very reminiscent of what Dan Campbell has built in Detroit. And I go back to being in Richmond the Saturday morning after Terry McLaurin requested a trade, and he basically in the press conference says, "Yeah, I spoke to Terry McLaurin. I support Terry McLaurin getting his. We're all in on this being the business side of things. We're moving forward, but Terry's our guy." And it just seems like there's a different kind of buy-in from Dan Quinn's players on that roster than I've seen in a lot of different places. He talks the talk, walks the walk. I think the Commanders build on last year, and I think that Dan Quinn rides the vibes and the success and the talk of the culture to winning Coach of the Year.
Now I like Quinn. I like the Commanders. Why do you think I hate this pick?
You hate this pick because I see the Reggie White image over there. I see the Eagles Super Bowl Bud Light bottle down there. You're reluctant to see the Commanders' success coming. Is that what this is?
No, it's because Coach of the Year is always like the flavor of the month. A guy who won 11 games and went to the NFC Championship game last year ain't going to win it this year. They're not going to vote for him. They're going to turn their noses up at him, even if he takes the team to a division title, because he's sort of in that category that Sirianni would be in if he won 13 games, or Andy Reid is in it. He never wins it. He doesn't even get odds for it. So Dan Quinn is at, I can't even find him, at plus 3,500 because the House knows that he could, unless they go 17-0, the voters are going, oh, I don't know. Liam Cohen rehabilitated that team this year. Let me give you another one. Mike Vrabel as at plus 600. Compare what Mike Vrabel has to do to win Coach of the Year
Yeah.
to what Quinn has.
Go around 500ish, and then Drake may not look like a crash dummy. But I'm gonna flip this back to you because there's this weird narrative on social that I've like ran into over the last couple days. The Commanders are old. Jaden Daniels has to take a step back. The Commanders aren't any good because they're old. If that's the pervasive narrative about the Commanders, not just on September 2nd, but on January 2nd when they're getting ready for a playoff game, hosting a home game, if that's still the narrative, does that change Dan Quinn's chances of winning when the public is just so out on them, but they defy expectations?
That's not the public. That's like Eagles Twitter, Eagles Blue Sky, Eagles Facebook. It's just like if you go to Lions Blue Sky right now, the copium is like there's a
Yeah,
copium epidemic.
it's off the charts. I've seen it. I've experienced it. Yes.
Micah Parsons disappears in close games. We're just happy we don't have to face Kenny Clark anymore. Like the level, and that's what you get. And again, from the age, I mean, that starts with Jimmy. It starts with Jimmy Kemsky, our colleague,
Yeah.
Eagles reporter, and it's accurate information. They have the oldest roster,
Yes.
but he's putting it out there for the Philly boys crowd to be like, "Ha ha, these buggers." The Cowboys you can make fun of easily. Commanders, you need more to do it. So yeah, this is an old team. Oh, a sophomore slump. That's all just the regular copium right now. I don't think any
Yeah.
of it's true, and I think this team goes out to 12 wins. But I can't imagine like the AP voters, the way they always think, looking at that and saying, "Oh, the Commanders." Remember, they're voting at the end of the regular season. They don't know what happens in the playoffs. Oh, they went from what was it, 12 wins to 13 wins this year. I'm going to vote for that over Vrabel. Kicked and screamed and jumped and he rebuilt the culture by creating a 9-8 team. Or Ben Johnson got Caleb Williams to not act like a like high school.
Johnson's a great pick. I'm more all in on Ben Johnson than I am on Mike Vrabel. I'll say that much.
Plus 700 there. Liam Cohen plus 1,200. Canales at plus 1,600. Oh, the Panthers took advantage of like injuries in Atlanta and Tampa Bay and got up to 9-8. These are the guys. You have to, when you're picking the award, you have to like meta game. The
Yes.
mentality of our colleagues when they get the hive mind going, just like the whole comeback thing. Like JJ McCarthy can't win comeback. He didn't actually come back. He was hurt last year and he was a rookie. So you have
But he's eligible. But he's eligible because he was hurt.
he was eligible because he was hurt, but you'll get this like super logic that you get from these individuals, and once they hive mind it, it's going to come out. So again, I love Quinn. I know it's coming with your Super Bowl pick. I'm not being a Reggie Homer here. I'm just saying be careful when you put your money on some of these picks.
We're going to move to MVP. And Mike, I'm going Lamar Jackson here
Okay.
because I thought he had an MVP caliber season last year. I think that what the Ravens have done over the last couple of years with that receiving core, saw it with my own eyes. Zay Flowers looks like he's taken a step. Rashad Bateman is in lockstep with Lamar Jackson going into this year. Derrick Henry's presence is only going to be exaggerated going into his second year as a force multiplier, brute force trauma initiator for that offense. The defense is really good. It's going to create opportunities for Lamar. I think that with the roster in place, the familiarity with Derrick Henry, another year in the same system, give me Lamar winning MV3 this season.
It's time to metagame again. It's time to metagame. They're seek of Allen versus Jackson, and they're not going to go back to Mahomes unless Mahomes does something unprecedented. They're looking for something else. Okay, so Lamar's at plus 550. He is one of the favorites. The other favorite at plus 550 is Joe Burrow, who it is not going to be tied to his record as long as they're around 500. It's going to be tied to the statistics this time. Okay, because like the entire conversation around that team is, oh, look, the Bengals are a mess, but they've got Barrow and Chase and Higgins. He goes out there and has that statistically big season. This is the year that the voters are like, we've seen Allen, we've seen Jackson, they did their usual thing. Oh, they lost that one game. Oh, they lost the Steelers that one time. The Bills, oh my God, they got tripped up that one time against the Patriots or whatever. And that Barrow doesn't have any of that. Barrow just, threw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns in that game. It's a shame we lost. Gosh golly gee. And there's a landslide to vote for Burrow. So I'm going with Burrow at plus 550, same odds as Jackson for MVP.
That's my guy. You know, I've been all in on Joe Burrow for years. I think that there's a 5,000 yard, 50 touchdown season to be had for Joe Burrow this year. But what I have a hard time reconciling is if the Bengals are 10-7 and he has 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns, and Lamar Jackson does Lamar Jackson things, and you have double digit rushing scores, and you cut down on the turnovers again, and the Ravens are the number one seed, and they win 13 games. I keep hearing in my head why you voted for for Josh Allen a year ago because the Bills had the better season and he's so important to what they do in Buffalo, which is very true. But if the tiebreaker is the season that the team had, I just think this is lining up for not only a special Raven season, but it's the season that an AFC scout has told me a few times this offseason, if not now, when? And if this is finally when for the Ravens to get it done and Lamar Jackson's the catalyst, I have a hard time thinking the voters are going to overlook that.
One thing about that, though, they've lost their ability to pleasantly surprise us.
True.
Because our expectations are high. We've seen all that magic. And Burrow can still, I mean, maybe Burrow himself can't necessarily do it, but if the Bengals pleasantly surprise us, the credit will be absorbed by him. But I think all your talk about the Ravens starts pushing us over to the Super Bowl picks.
Yes. You want to go first here?
I'm going to go first. I want to pick it out. A couple of things is one, I did have originally the Lions here, but I took the Lions off because of the Micah trade.
Huge. Huge. I had a scout tell me right after it happened, sent out some text messages immediately after the deal went down, point blank. He said that the Packers are Super Bowl contenders now after this move, unquote. It was just a sea change of a trade. It might be the most impactful blockbuster trade that we've seen in the NFL in a decade. So I'm not surprised you took the Lions off of the NFC side of the bracket. Who did you put on?
I looked for reasons to not pick the Eagles. I look for reasons to not pick the Eagles that weren't Doomerism or Philly fatalism, and I couldn't find them. And I look at the Commanders and see them being strong. I look at the Lions, the Packers, see them very strong. I look at all these NFC teams, NFC West teams that could bubble up, and I say I have to build the argument for these teams, while the Eagles have to build the argument against them. So I'm not building the argument against them. That the Eagles are going to be there again. We don't have to list the strengths of the team. They're going to persevere and be the one that's there at the end of January.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to argue that. I look at the Eagles as having the most talented and deepest roster across the NFL. I wrote it on Monday. I think that the window is open for the Eagles to be the next dynasty in the NFL. I just don't know that they get it done this year. It's hard to repeat. It's only happened twice this century with the Patriots teams and the Mahomes teams. It's hard to do it 2 years in a row. And I just look at what's being built in Washington, and I look at Jaden Daniels, and I look at his upside to the point where I think the season he had a year ago is closer to his floor rather than his ceiling with an improved offensive line and more weapons. The best team, the best roster, they don't always win, especially a division opponent. A ball bounces a funny way, a trick play breaks you away early. It changes the trajectory of the game. I have the Commanders coming out of the NFC, beating the Eagles in a revenge situation in the NFC title game in Philly. Washington emerges on the NFC side of the bracket.
And the DVOA analysis and projections have Washington coming out as a division winner. So that's there. I don't see, I have a hard time making that leap. If the Eagles had fallen off, if I had something else to go on besides, well, they lost the cursory guys you lose when you win the championship, I'd be more comfortable with that. Plus, the Commanders are old and there could be a sophomore slump.
Oh, okay, Threads. Okay, Blue Sky. I'm familiar with your game. Bring it. We'll revisit this in February. We'll talk about this in Santa Clara, and we'll fire back to the folks on Blue Sky, and we'll send them this clip at that point.
Right, because we want to have a grudge on every bit of fan copium that's ever been out there. All 32 teams copiums exposed. I think we know who you have in the AFC.
I have the Ravens winning it all. I have Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry and Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman and Kyle Hamilton and Malachi Starks and maybe Jared Alexander plays a role. But you just look at what they have on both sides of the ball. Talk to people on the training camp tour when I was in different spots. The Eagles and Ravens are the two deepest rosters in the NFL. I think the Ravens have the fewest question marks of any team in the NFL. You can talk about what the Eagles are going to do at cornerback 2. You could talk about what are the Eagles going to do at safety alongside Reed Blankenship. Can Makuba be the guy? Is it sustainable for Jalen Hurts? Where are the questions for Lamar Jackson and the Ravens? Can they win in January? It's a big question.
Yeah.
I think that the pieces around him, the defense being as dominant as it is, I think the Ravens get it done this year. And I have them beating the Commanders 27-23 in a Super Bowl.
Wow. Now, I'm not going to say just the combination, not who wins. For Ravens versus Commanders, you can get that at plus 4,000 right now.
I might go throw $10 down on
For
that because I
$10.
feel that good about it.
You don't have to pick a winner there. You can be sipping your champagne 2 weeks before the Super Bowl when that's the matchup. My matchup is way back at plus 1,800. You talk about the Ravens, we talk about the Bills. You say, what's the question? Win in January, beat each other, beat the Chiefs. That's the question. So I looked at those two teams neck and neck, and I said, what's the separator? And it's the schedule. It's the ease of schedule and the possibility that the home field advantage is going to go to Buffalo because they're feasting on a shockingly easy schedule. And I don't have anything else to go on. I don't have a vibe where it's like, well, this is where Allen is going to beat Jackson, or this is where, the supporting cast of the Ravens versus the depth of the Bills. I just say one team has a road to home field advantage. They take it. That game's in Buffalo, or the Chiefs game's in Buffalo, and the Bills are the ones that prevail. And I like the idea of Bills Eagles, and because Eagles fans like we pull the I'm weeing, you got an Eagles fly behind you too. We pull the long suffering thing. We got 2 Super Bowls in the last 8 years. You have a third Super Bowl appearance. It's not a long suffering thing anymore. That's our generation, my generation, your generation. Our kids don't know that.
No.
Bills fans are like the spiritual descendants of the Eagles fans. The Bills Mafia is the Philly faithful, but frozen and even more insane. And I like to see them have the opportunity to be out there in that. So there's a feeling.
He had a really compelling matchup when you talk about Josh Allen against that Eagles defense. When you talk about, James Cook against a really good Eagles defensive line. When you talk about Keon Coleman, and if he steps up as a true wide receiver one against Quinyon Mitchell, lot of compelling storylines that could develop from that. Not the least of which is Buffalo finally avenging the four falls in the 1990s
Right.
and potentially getting the job done in the swan song for that stadium in Orchard Park. I mean, you can just the theatrics, the theater of an AFC title game in Buffalo in the snow. I'd argue the most daunting home field advantage in the NFL, regardless of who goes in there, whether it's Baltimore, Kansas City, Cincinnati. Maybe in the snow, the
Right.
theatrics would be amazing, and then you get two rabid fan bases meeting up in the Bay Area. Would be great. Be a lot
And
of fun.
remember who beat those Bills back then? It was the Cowboys, the Washington franchise, the Giants, the three other amigos.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there'd be mojo out there for Bills fans. Like here comes another NFC East team, and maybe this is the time. A lot to like. I don't think anybody's really going to go off road. We all have to sort of make an odd pick. It's hard to make an odd pick this year. I mean, people might be picking the Niners. No one's picking any but three teams in the AFC. Maybe somebody
Right.
picking the Texans.
Maybe Burrow's Bengals. Maybe that offense is good enough to get the job done. But the Commanders Super Bowl pick has just been getting roasted across social media, and maybe
The
that's just
Giants
because there's so
people.
many Eagles fans and Giants fan
Right?
followers.
Right. You guys knew what you were doing when you picked that. You were a Giants beat, an Eagles beat. Most of your followers are Eagles or Giants people. Of course, you're getting roasted for that.
All I
Good.
say is we'll see in February.
Now-
All right, Mike, this is the conversation I'm really looking forward to. Fired up to have our next guest joining us. He's former Tennessee Titans and Oilers wide receiver. That's how far back he goes from his playing days. Chris Sanders, he's also the host of the No Weapon podcast with John Burton. Chris, how you doing, my friend?
Man, I'm doing good. First of all, man, you didn't say the Ohio State University. Now we're not friends anymore.
You don't see all the Penn State stuff behind me
Oh
up
my!
on the upper
See,
level of the
now I'm
desk.
really about to cut the show off. Penn State, when they came into the Big Ten in 1993, we actually played them. They had a squad, man. And then I think the year they won was it 1994 when they won the national
86, they won
championship?
it all. They went to the Rose Bowl in 94,
Oh my
smoked you
God!
guys, and dropped in the polls.
I
They
was on that
dropped in the
team.
polls.
I
Yeah.
know. I was on that team. We got beat 63-14.
And Penn State drops that weekend.
That
I
was
can't believe it.
crazy. That was
The
crazy.
game of the year is going to be at the shoe, Penn
Ooh.
State, Ohio State this year. Good
Woo!
chance they're both undefeated going into that game. Should be a ton of fun.
Man, it is. I mean, the key is going to be who does well at the quarterback position. I mean,
Right.
the Ohio State Buckeyes got a new quarterback who looked okay against Texas, But man, it's going to be interesting. That Ohio State defense be bringing it. So I think they're going to keep them in it.
Yeah, going to be a lot of fun. And it's going to be a lot
Absolutely.
of fun in Tennessee, kind of a new era dawning for the Titans. And you've gotten an up close and personal look of Cam Ward
Yeah.
during training camp at some practices, during the preseason games. What's impressed you the most about the number one pick?
There's two things. Number one, he's got great poise. I mean, he looks like a veteran out there. I'm not saying he makes the right decisions all the time, but he just has great poise. He has great confidence. And from day one, he won his teammates over, not just the offense, the defense, and the special teams. If you just watch him in practice, it looked like he's been there for 50 years. He's arguing with Jeffrey Simmons. He's making plays, but also he's just poised in the huddle. But then also away from that, his decision making. I mean, you watch him make his decision making. His decision making is, I'm not saying it's there yet. I'm being careful what I'm saying. It's not there yet, but just watching him on 7-7, just watching him on team. There was when he was, I think it was about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, he threw 6 interceptions, but he came back and he learned and made the right decisions. That what makes him so special.
For sure. And I wanted to ask you about the Jeffrey Simmons situation because that went viral. He's doing his dance, he's getting in his face during practice. You've been in locker rooms, you've been in huddles with some elite quarterbacks. What message does that send to the other offensive players and the rest of the roster that you're not afraid to go up against as a rookie, a dominant veteran defensive player like that in practice and kind of shove it in his face?
First of all, Cam Ward didn't want no parts of that. You hear when you did the press conference, you're like, man, that dude is strong. I mean, it's just all in the attitude of wanting to get better. Sometimes, tempers flare, but at the end of the day, they both said they left it on the field. But when you're getting in Jeffrey Simmons' face that he'll tear somebody's helmet off and do all those things, but it just shows you that he's won over his team. And then if you look, it's a funny thing that I looked at when they had a scrimmage, I think it was about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, that they were consistently on the sidelines together. It shows you that even though they had an argument, even though they had a situation in practice, those guys actually love each other. And then on the flip side, they actually did a story of them going fishing together. They went fishing together.
Wow.
Yeah. And you got Jeffrey Simmons on one boat. You got Cam Ward on another boat. And those cats are arguing like, man, you can't catch a fish. You stink. I mean, they're just consistently getting after each other. You love the competitiveness, but at the end of the day, they're brothers as Tennessee Titans.
What I think is really interesting about young quarterbacks is how they go through the mental development of that aspect of the game. I spoke with Brian Mitchell a couple months ago about Jaden Daniels and how he avoids that sophomore slump. And he told me that he's become best friends with Bobby Wagner, an all-pro linebacker. And now you have Bobby Wagner, who plays defense at the highest level, kind of helping this young quarterback see things from that perspective. Do you think there's that kind of relationship budding between Jeffrey Simmons and Cam Ward? Or do you think this is a rivalry that's going on behind the scenes in practice? That's where it ends.
I don't think it's a rivalry. It's just guys that just love to compete and love to win. You look at the leaders and the captains of the Tennessee Titans. You got Cam Ward on offense. You got Jeffrey Simmons on defense. So those guys have those competitive juices. These guys want to win, but they're going to clash in practice because just imagine going through camp, seeing Jeffrey Simmons every day, seeing Cam Ward every day, and they're chirping every day. And then all of a sudden you got Cam Ward that throws a bomb, and then, you have Cam Ward that runs up and puts Jeffrey Simmons. Tempers are going to flare. But at the end of the day, I guarantee you, if some other player, say if the Denver Broncos, one of those defensive players gets a cheap shot on Cam Ward, I guarantee you Jeffrey Simmons is going to be the first person on the field to try to choke whoever tried to hurt Cam Ward. So it's a love-hate relationship, but these guys actually love each other because they're teammates and their family.
And Cam, chosen number one out of Miami, lands in a really great situation from a coaching and a scheme standpoint, because you see Brian Callahan, he's worked with elite quarterbacks like Joe Burrow and Matthew Stafford. He was there in Denver with Peyton Manning. When you think about those guys and you think about the careers they had, what kind of impact do you think Brian Callahan can have in terms of maximizing Cam's skill set and getting his traits to help him develop into one of those great quarterbacks?
One thing about Coach Brian is he's a great teacher. I mean, when you have a quarterback's coach and an offensive coordinator, you have to be a great teacher. Yeah, you can talk about the X and O's, you can talk about all these things, but he's building a relationship with Cam Ward. And once you build a relationship with Cam Ward, then now you can see him develop into a great quarterback. Because I've been in some situations where you have a quarterback that don't like the offensive coordinator, and it's just a total disaster. But these guys actually love each other. And then you got a great coach. It's a great teacher to teach you the X and O's, to teach you about blitzes, to teach you the front, because he's seen it all. So now you have two things that are working together for Cam. You got a coach that has a relationship with Cam Ward, and then you have a guy that's a great teacher. It's a recipe for success.
For sure. Now, obviously, we haven't seen Cam Ward in an NFL regular season game. We'll see that on Sunday, his first glimpse of real game speed in the NFL. But how have you seen him improve from walking on the field in minicamp to now on the doorstep of week 1?
Just correcting his mistakes. I mean, we always talk about rookies coming in and consistently making mistakes over and over again, because we always talk about this league. The people that stay in the league the longest is a person that's consistent. And I think that, with him, yes, he threw like 6 interceptions in one practice and made some mistakes, but we haven't talked about it anymore. Why? Because he went in the room and said, okay, let me fix what I need to fix. And he corrected those mistakes. So it just shows you that he's maturing as a quarterback. He's maturing as a student of the game. And he's understanding that if I make the mistake, I'm not gonna make that same mistake again. And that's what's making him special. I'm not saying he's there yet. Because he's going against a top 10 defense. But learning from his mistake, correct his mistake, it just shows you that he's developing into a good quarterback.
It's that whole mentality of whether it was an interception, the last throw, or a 50-yard touchdown, you get to the sideline, you look at it on the tablet, and then it's over and you're on to the next play.
Yeah, and he's coachable. I mean, you have a lot of guys in the NFL. I'm not saying everybody, that sometimes they don't want to be coached. But if you watch when he makes a mistake, even when he does something well, he goes to the sideline and he talks to the coaches. Okay, what are you seeing? What do I need to do better? Are my feet good? Am I setting the front right? Am I looking at the coverage right? So it just shows you that even though he's a rookie, he's absorbing it like a veteran. Because why? Because he wants to be the greatest quarterback in the league.
For sure. And you played wide receiver at extremely high level in this league. You know what it takes to build that chemistry with your quarterback. Have you noticed anything with Cam's timing and chemistry with guys like Calvin Ridley and Tyler Lockett, two vets at that position? Anything that makes you the most optimistic that these guys are going to hit the ground running and they have their timing ready to roll?
I watch the innuendos. Everybody watches on the field when Calvin really catches the pass, but I want you to watch behind the scenes, the way they communicate with each other, the way they talk, the way he talks about him in the meetings, the way he talks to him on the field. So even though Calvin really makes a big catch, they're consistently talking to each other. I remember when they had a scrimmage in Nissan Stadium, and Calvin really made a phenomenal catch, and he ran to the end zone. But then you scroll to maybe about 10 minutes later, they're actually talking about the play. They're talking about, okay, when I run the curl like this, I want it in this position, I like that. And it just shows you that the best receiver combo with the quarterback and a wide receiver, they're consistently communicating. You remember Peyton Manning and Harrison. You got different guys in the league that communicate with the wide receiver and the quarterback. That's what makes them so special. Why? Because they're communicating and they have the same eyes. When I say they have the same eyes, they're reading coverages. They're saying, I want to be in this spot. I want you to throw it in this one. I want you to do those things. And when you have I'm getting excited here. When you have a quarterback and you have a wide receiver that have the same eyes and they communicate, it is a recipe for success. Because why? You have two guys that have the same vision.
For sure. And, I think that nationally, the Titans are viewed as one of these teams that potentially great young quarterback, some weapons around him, but they're kind of an unknown playing in a wide open AFC South. I mean, we can look at what the Jaguars have with Trevor Lawrence and those two really good receivers and Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas. You can look at the Colts where you have Michael Pittman and now Daniel Jones. The Texans seem to be the team that's most likely to emerge because of the defense they've built and the experience with CJ Stroud, and they've done a nice job of adding weapons around him. Looking into the crystal ball, Cam Ward's rookie season is done. You and I are talking in January. What makes this season a success? What are the incremental steps towards growth that you would want to see the Titans make this year?
If you look at the whole situation, you named two teams. You named the Texans and you named the Colts. What did they fix? They fixed the quarterback position. The Texans went out and got CJ Stroud. The Colts went and got Daniel Jones. I'm not saying that's a perfect fit, but it's a fit for now. If you look at the Tennessee Titans, what was the Achilles heel of the Tennessee Titans last year? It was a quarterback situation with Will Levis. There was about 3 or 4 games that if they had had a different quarterback in that situation, I think the Tennessee Titans would have won more games. Look at the first game when they went against Chicago. You have Will Levis throws a pick six. You go against the Green Bay Packers. You're up 7-0. Will Levis throws a pick six. So now you got a situation to where you got Cam Ward. He comes in with poise. He comes in with confidence. He comes in with making great decisions. It gives you hope that this guy can lead this team to victory. I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl this year. I'm saying they're going to be very competitive and they're going to win some games they're not supposed to win. Why? Because the quarterback position has changed.
Chris, I want to go off script here just a little bit. When you look at the position you played at wide receiver, receivers are so quick now to get on that fast track from being rookies to 1,200-yard receivers.
Yeah.
We've seen it with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, certainly. You look at what Malik Neighbors did in 15 games last year.
Yeah.
Brian Thomas, heck of a year for the Jaguars. You have Travis Hunter coming up now. How has that position evolved, in your opinion, to the point where it used to take, remember the narrative, it takes 3 years for a receiver to hit his stride, to now it takes 3 snaps? What do you think has accelerated that?
I think you just got bigger and stronger and faster guys. But here's the thing. I think the game has changed a lot. And the reason why I say the game has changed a lot is because you can't really touch them at the line of scrimmage. Guys are getting free release. You got Jamar Chase. You got Devontae Adams that have mastered getting off the line of scrimmage. When I say getting off the line of scrimmage, getting guys off the spot, line with the eyes, getting back on your, all those things that it was hard to do when you got a Dale Carter that's trying to choke at the line of scrimmage. You got Deion Sanders that does a quick jam. If you look at how the game's evolved a lot, that the receivers are getting free releases and they're being so creative at the top of the route. When I say at the top of the route, what are they doing at the top of the route? They line with their eyes. They're giving more fakes. Why? Because they have more time to get into their routes. And I just think that back then, when you're going against Lester Hayes and Woodson and all those guys, to where they can put your hands on you, it's a little different because now they can't even touch you or they're going to blow a whistle. I just think that that's the difference.
Chris, who's the number 1 receiver in the sport today? Who's the guy that if you're sitting down? Yeah, Jamar Chase.
He's a dog. Look at his numbers. If I can remember, I think he had 127, 1,700 yards, 17 TDs. And then you got Jefferson from Minnesota Vikings. And I like A.J. Brown. You got CeeDee Lamb. You got St. Brown from the Detroit Lions. You got Nico Collins from, the Texans. You got a lot of great wide receivers. But that dude in Cincinnati, that dude is a grown man. He knows how to get open. He creates separation. He just, every time the ball's in the air, he just goes and gets it. Why? Because he understands how to run routes.
Last one before we wrap it up. It's a fun one. It's off the ball. It's a little bit different, right?
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley here in the Philadelphia area, Wawa, which is basically your combination gas station, convenience store, hoagie sandwich shop. They just gave him a sandwich. And the sandwich is a turkey and cheese with lettuce, onions, and mustard. Now, we're assuming that this is the Saquon creation. Yeah. So if I hop on a flight down to Nashville and I go into your neck of the woods and I go to the local deli, what's the Chris Sanders sandwich? What's the Chris Sanders on the board?
It would be called smooth.
Okay. What's in the sandwich?
Nice and simple. Just have some ham, some cheese, some barbecue sauce, some Worcester sauce. I know that sounds kind of goofy. And then put some with a big old glass of Kool-Aid.
Oh, the Kool-Aid. Gotta have the Kool-Aid.
Absolutely. And a Coca-Cola. So that would be called the smooth sandwich.
The Chris Sanders Smooth. Chris, it's been a lot of fun. Make sure you follow Chris at 81_ways on Instagram. Sir. Check out the podcast, the No Weapon podcast with John Burton. Yeah. And look forward to checking in with you further on up the road about Cam Ward and the Titans moving forward.
Oh, man, call me anytime, man. I love doing the show, and it's an honor to be on your show, my friend.
Fun stuff there from Chris Sanders. Mike, I'm excited to see Cam Ward. I'm excited to see what that Titans offense is this year. I mean, they have some fun pieces, and we both know the AFC South is wide open.
AFC South is wide open. I look forward to his entire career. And I love the competitor that I hear that he's going to be. I look forward to following his journey. Don't have high expectations for this year, let's be honest, but it's exciting that they have a direction and they have a future.
No doubt about it. And Brian Callahan, quarterback whisperer, we'll see how all that works out. But much more around the corner, much more immediate. we have a pretty big game on Thursday night at Lincoln Financial Field. Eagles at Cowboys opening up NFL season 106. Eagles Super Bowl banner number 2 going up into the rafters. And, this is a game that lost a little bit of panache after the Cowboys traded Micah Parsons. But if nothing else, it seems like a first glimpse of how seriously should we take that Eagles repeat talk, and just how efficient and dominant can that offense be going into 2025.
You know what's funny about it? Like, I think it was Monday night. I was looking at the odds, and the Eagles are 7-point favorites. I'm like, well, that's reasonable. This is post Micah trade. They're 7-point favorites. And then these quotes started coming out of Dallas by guys like CeeDee Lamb saying, oh, man, we got to face Micah in week 4. I hope he's not in the backfield every other play. Like these sort of doom-saying, grimdark quotes were coming out of Dallas about how much they loved and are going to miss Micah. The line is, as of Tuesday afternoon, 8.5.
Dude, I think that Jerry Jones completely torpedoed that locker room, the morale, the season. Just we've talked about it. Treating Micah Parsons the way he did was the wrong guy to follow that playbook with, and trading him feels like a really major miscalculation in terms of the pulse of that locker room, the other star players on that roster, and it just feels like there's an even darker cloud hovering over the Cowboys season than there would have been had these negotiations stretched into week 2 or week 3.
That's it. And I can see themselves pulling themselves together on national television in this environment, giving the Eagles a game. I think the Eagles will win, not being disastrous. But each time they fall a little bit further behind, the golf club mentality is it's back there. It's in the back of those minds. And I think that there's a possibility that, yeah, you see the cratering of the morale as that initial adrenaline rush wears off.
For sure. All right. So we look ahead to Sunday. I think we're both on the same page. The Eagles get it done and go 1-0 against the shell of the Cowboys Spirits. What's your circlet game for the weekend in the Sunday slate?
We all have the same circlet games, all right? So we know the big ones. I'm not going to mention the big ones. How about Colts Dolphins?
Wait, what? What?
The two teams most likely to be in the can completely, besides the Cowboys, come October. I'm just curious as to what both of these teams look like. The Daniel Jones Colts and the we are ready to quit at the first sign of trouble Dolphins. Because if you start thinking about like first coach fire props, things like that, I want to see who has any life in them. Now, granted, that's not the real circlet game. I'm just picking an odd one out there. But I write a thing.
No,
I write a thing called Tank Watch.
I like the odd one.
Yeah.
Yes, you do. And what day of the week can people expect Tank Watch and for the Dolphins to be number 1? What day of the week?
Well, it would be probably week 2 or week 3 because somebody has to go 0-2 at least before I do a Tank Watch. But then who will it be? Will it be the Colts? Will it be the Dolphins? Who will be 0-2 at that point? I probably won't pick on the Saints right away because the Saints are fish in a barrel, and I talk about their salary cap too much, and people get bored with that. Who will it be? Well, we'll be talking about Anthony Richardson coming in halfway through the first game. I don't want him to get an injury, but Tua getting benched or suffering an ankle injury or something. What will the storyline be?
Zach Wilson saving the day? Zach Wilson to Tyreek Hill, the new bromance in South Beach?
The day, instead of Tyreek Hill, escaping the police to get to the game, Tyreek Hill going 120 miles to leave the game. Remember last year? Remember how it started?
I do.
Right.
I do.
The cops getting a little carried away with Tyreek there. This is the opposite. Like they're looking for him. He's a missing person. That could be a possibility.
Yeah, I'm going to go chalk on the circular game. Surprise, surprise. Bills, Ravens. The Ravens are my Super Bowl pick after all. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, great theater. Is the Ravens defense as advertised? 2 of the best teams. Probably a playoff preview, maybe an AFC championship preview. Who knows? It's going to be a great game. Looking forward to it. I'm high on the Ravens, and it should be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to be up late Sunday night and the Monday morning taking care of all this, getting it all wrapped up for our various columns.
Should be a lot of fun. Mike, what's coming up on the Two Deep Zone? What can people expect? Where can they subscribe? All that good stuff.
What you can find right now is the wisdom of the NFL. 20 years, my little 20-year anniversary column here, where I share in almost biblical form everything that I've learned about the NFL. It's not that long, which probably isn't surprising because I don't know much. And the older I get, the less I know. But that's on there now. We're going to let that run for a couple days. If you go back, you'll find my season previews for all the teams, whether it's the contenders, playoff hopefuls, the meh teams, these stinky poo teams like the New Orleans Saints. That's all up there. And it's Two Deep Zone, MikeTanier.substack.com. And what do you have going on, Matt?
Yeah, of course, Monday in Four Downs was my season predictions. If you go back a little bit further, moments after the Micah Parsons trade went down, I spoke to a couple of scouts and a couple of executives on the impact of the trade, both from a Cowboys and Packers perspective. You can find that there on Substack at Between the Hash Marks. And we'll have the Friday mailbag. A couple projects that are kind of butting up against the deadline. We'll see if we can get them in time for the open, or if not, later on down the road. But you should subscribe to the Two Deep Zone on Substack. You should subscribe to Between the Hash Marks on Substack. And if you enjoy the podcast, check it out on my YouTube channel at Matt Lombardo 975. Subscribe to the Apple Podcast Store. Leave us those 5-star reviews. Follow Mike on Blue Sky at Mike Tanier. You can check me out on Blue Sky at Matt Lombardo and on Threads at Matt Lombardo NFL. Mike, I hear that you wrote a theme song on the harmonica for the upcoming season. It's going to open up Thursday's broadcast. Can we get a sampling of the song?
Well, folks may not realize that I'm a rather adept guitar player, a pretty good bass player, and a crackerjack harmonica player. So it goes something like this.
Yeah, we can't hear you. Your microphone is rebelling against you. Those watching on YouTube can see Mike trying to play the harmonica. Yeah, we got nothing. Mike, your microphone is giving you the Heisman.
This is like, oh brother, where art thou level, amazing Americana, authentic heartland, Italian American Jersey, Springsteen, harmonica music I'm playing here. You mean to tell me, does that work? Does that work?
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear, but the moment you try to play the song, no go. This is great theater on YouTube at Matt Lombardo 975, but we just can't hear you.
I feel terrible if we can't hear it here on Zoom, but it's actually coming through on the audio and YouTube. No more 5-star reviews, no more 97.5 Matt Lombardo, nothing. My wife threatens me to flush this down the toilet and divorce me every time I pull it out.
Don't divorce the pod. Mike, we'll talk to you next week. Enjoy week 1, everybody.
Take care.